I am Doug Friedman.
And I am Meredith Levy.
And this is your Mental Breakdown,
the podcast,
where you get to listen to us.
Us.
Our podcast. Your breakdown, our podcast. Yeah, funny to me. I don't know if it'll be funny to anybody else, but some people have asked me, oh yeah, what's the podcast called? And I tell them, they go, oh yeah, my mental breakdown. Like, no, your mental breakdown.
Like, for a long time, I could not help. I was telling everyone it was my mental breakdown.
Right.
It's not. It could be. We have mental breakdowns too. So.
Don't we?
We sure do.
and it's the holidays and your birthday. So, well, not yet. It will be your birthday very shortly. Wait a second. Actually, it is your birthday.
Yeah, Doug. It's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Go me. It's my birthday.
How you feeling?
Young and spry as ever.
that was a nice deep pause with the eyes closed. Was that really checking in and feeling young and spry?
Yeah. Well, okay. I have a little knot in my shoulder because I've been running a lot. But other than that, I'm not a runner. I'm just trying.
What's your hurry? Why not just walk?
Dork. If anybody has any running tips for me, please give them. I really try. Strike in the middle of the foot. Align my shoulders, hips, knees up, kick back, eyes ahead, shoulders down, elbows at 90 degrees. I still feel like I'm running like an elephant, but whatever.
When I was a teenager, I went to a sports camp where they had state-of-the-art, at the time, video that would video us doing all these different athletic events and games and stuff. And then we would watch the video breakdown to see where our arm angles were and all that. And it was like stick figures on video.
That would be horrifying for me.
Yeah, that was wild. Man, I just flashed on, I am not anymore, but I used to be fast. And I went to the Junior Olympics when I was a kid.
Ooh.
In the 100 meter or 100 yard, whatever it was, 100 yard dash, meter dash.
Yeah.
100 increments dash.
Right.
And I was probably one of the fastest in the school. That's why I went.
There was like 40 kids in our school, Doug.
Yeah. I get there and I am like, I don't even know how I made like the second heat. I did not do well. And I think in the final run that I did, there were 9 of us and I finished 8th out of 9, only because the guy who finished behind me crossed a line and got disqualified.
Oh my God. Well, you know my saying, like, go big or go home. I'd rather be last in place than like 5th to last, you know?
Really?
First or last, bring it. Black and white thinking. Shame on me. I told you I graduated last in my class in high school.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Well, there's only like 120 kids, but sure.
Right. I remember a golfer when I was young named John Daly. Have you ever heard that name?
No.
I thought he was pretty cool. He got busted a couple of times for being drunk, I think, while he was golfing or playing or hungover. But he once just so irreverently was trying to get over like a little water thing or something. And instead of taking a drop, like a penalty and just going ahead, he kept trying to hit it, kept trying to do it, and wound up like shooting a 16 on the hole, which is ridiculous. I loved him for that. He was like, I don't give a fuck.
But he was committed.
Yeah, totally committed. And, you know, maybe a little stubborn.
Yeah.
But pretty cool, I think. Go big or go home, right?
Yep. I have a little like putt-putt thing in my backyard. Don't know why.
Nice.
When I rented the house, it's like a long turf and then putt-putt thing at the end. And my stepdad gave me golf clubs. So the other day, a friend and I played. I have no idea what I was doing. Could have been using my mom's old left-handed golf club for all I know. I just shot him, just like, I could have just closed my eyes and shot him and done just as well. So it was fun. It was different. Maybe I'll keep practicing.
Huh. The putt-putt golf, I love that. Like in LA, there were a couple courses that are like they call them the par threes or the putt-putts. The distance to the hole is not very great. So you can just use like clubs, not drivers.
I call that mini golf.
Exactly. But not miniature golf. Miniature golf's different where you have like the windmill.
That's what I mean.
That can knock your thing, and the crocodile that opens its mouth and you got to get it in there.
That's the best though.
Yeah. Mini golf is fun. Putt-putt golf, also fun. I love that because it's real golf. It's just it's a short game. And I loved it. And I got pretty good at it. And then I went out on like a bigger golf course, like to actually golf. And the very first shot I hit off the tee, like cracked right in the center of the club, straight down. It was like, I felt so high. It was like amazing. I hit this perfect shot. Like, this is great. This is easy. I know what I'm doing. Golf is fun. That was the only good shot I hit that whole day. The first shot off the tee and everything else just shanked and was horrible.
Oh, boo-boo.
It snowed again here. And I decided I was going to have a snow day and not really leave the house, certainly not by car. And then a friend of mine here in Boulder was like, hey, I'm going to go out to this place and pick up some stuff. So if you want anything, let me know and I'll bring it to you. I was like, what? You're driving in the snow? That's crazy.
Did you make snow angels?
No snowmen, but I went out in the fresh powder and totally slipped in my own driveway and just like ate it in the powder. So it didn't hurt.
Oh,
it startled
my God.
me a little bit. And I was wearing my snow chains on my shoes, but I guess it's just, fresh powder. There's a feeling that, I'm wearing these chains on my shoes and I'm invincible, and I'm not.
Do you have Sorels or something?
No, I mean, I've got hiking shoes, but they're not the same. I mean, you need actual like real chain traction in ice and snow. I got the chains and I think like, cool, I can do anything. Great. Let's go. You still have to be a little careful.
It's amazing.
And Pooch over here, he just goes blasting out. And every now and then he'll skid around. He's having a blast.
Hilarious.
And it's all like when it's powdered like it is today, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. What is the temperature there?
Oh, it's warm. It's 24 degrees.
Oh my God.
24 degrees today, 15 degrees tonight.
Oh my God. It's 57 here and I want to cry.
I know, that's so hot. I'm so spoiled. I don't know how I'm going to do coming back to LA. Like where am I going to get 15 degrees in LA?
In your refrigerator?
Can I sleep with the fridge open? I sleep with the windows open here.
It's crazy. You crazy. Speaking of sleeping with the windows open.
Oh, yeah. Sleeping with the windows open. We're going with that one?
Sure.
Okay. Wedding bells.
Wedding bells. Yep.
So the wedding is finally here.
Yep.
We made it.
It's a coming.
That's right. So you are going to hear Drew at his brother's wedding. Well, not at his brother's wedding. The first session back from being at his brother's wedding. And we'll talk about that.
Right.
We'll talk about puppy that he just got. And we will be back with you in a little while.
I was ready to go this weekend. I was like thinking about it and on my way there. I was feeling really good about it. And then I got in super late that night, worked that morning, got up, kind of had coffee with my dad, so shows up to my mom. Tried not to talk to my mom about any of her issues kind of while we were there. We both kind of looked at each other like, it's okay. We'll talk about it. Don't worry about it. We'll get through it. Let's focus on wedding. That really like relieved a lot for me.
Good.
So I didn't feel the pressure of having to like talk to her and like sit her down and fix everything, which we talked about, So it was like, all right, cool. Now that we're actually here doing it, I felt like, okay, we're okay. And I slept good, which I was worried about, but it was all good. The only bad part, and I'm going to say this before I get into all the good stuff, because I was ushering people.
Right.
And nobody knew I was his brother, to the point where like I was sitting there like, who are you? I'm his brother. Oh my God. That kind of thing. And over and over and over again, I heard, oh, we're going to sit on the groom's side. He doesn't have very much family here. We're going to support him. And I said it just now in like a positive way, but it was a lot of negative. Like, oh, he doesn't really have much family. Oh, not that many people are here for him.
How is that hearing that?
I think the difference in hearing it now is I heard it and I was okay with it. Cause I knew, and like, I've always had a small family, but to me, even like my grandparents, my aunt, my cousin not going, like I felt bad about that. So hearing it from other people, it definitely stung, and it definitely hurt. But I didn't like go to my mom and be like, oh my God, the people were saying. I held it into myself, not to keep it down, but like it was okay there. It's just something I observed and like kind of heard about. And I knew I was going to talk about it in here. So I was like, okay, we'll get to it. It has its space, but for right now, like it's okay. but that really made me attach more to my family. And there was a couple of people, like his old friends, who I grew up with too. And it was great to see them. God, I haven't seen them since I was probably in junior high. And so for me, it was cool going from junior high snapshot to now, because I was never respected by them. I was always a little brother. It was the typical little brother rule. And so it was nice to be able just to talk and in more of an adult manner and just kind of hang and talk and see how life's going with these guys.
Yeah.
And that made it feel really home to me. And it was really nice just the support in that world for my brother, because he doesn't have much of it. And like, I don't know any of his friends. I met probably 200 people that I've never met in my entire life. I might not ever see again. I don't know. But it was cool to kind of see what we've been talking about of where he's at now and how he's doing and why he's doing it. And the people around him are all really good.
Right.
So even though I didn't really get to sit down and have a one-on-one with him, it felt like I got to know him really well through his friends and like all of his family and other people like that.
Yeah.
Which was just
awesome. Yeah, I love that. Even though you said, I want to tell you about the one bad thing, like it kind of morphed into not a bad thing at all. What you did say is the bad thing is people going, oh, well, he doesn't have much family, so we're going to sit on his side. That helped you lean into, want to be more family, want to like dig into this and kind of represent. And that's important because that's something you couldn't have anticipated, right? In fact, one of your worries, I think it was more about the bachelor party, but it extended to the wedding, was I'm not going to be comfortable. I don't know them. They don't know me. You know, and yet as you talk about this, what you just kind of naturally fell into was, oh, these are people that want to sit on my brother's side and that know him, that, and I get to meet them and I get to talk to them a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool. And I get to show, I'm his brother. And almost the very thing you were worried about was one of the things that became your role. And actually you smiling pretty bright, right? That was not something we could have anticipated. And it's all, this is why I love this, doing this therapy, the anxiety about it versus it. Yeah.
And I think this was a great milestone for me too, in that exact nature of understanding of the pent up worry. Because I'm now shifting this into my workplace.
Totally.
Because it's like my shit keeps getting pushed back and I can't get samples and it's just hiccup after hiccup after hiccup. And it's just like, it's completely out of my control. But it's mine, so I have that pressure. And so now I'm taking a step back and being like, it's okay, we'll get there when it comes. Because there's nothing I can do about it. Like, there's just nothing I can do about it.
Right.
And so I think this weekend really helped me to kind of like get prepared for this week, which is going to help me keep going.
Yeah. I like that you're able to take what you just experienced over a period of time, because we were talking about it months ago.
Right.
Didn't have it. And you got to experience and see it, create that new frame of reference, right? Start that new trail, moving that boulder, those trees, and I'm going that way in the snow, right?
Yeah.
And you're looking at the process of it in your head so that as you come up on something similar, like work, wait, hang on. I've been here before. I've done this. I know how to do. I can't control this part. I can control this part. Let me work on that. It's funny because it reminds me of a client who works in, the finance world. It has to happen fast. This deal's on the line and I need this piece of paperwork to get that piece of paperwork and doing all that. And he had a similar mentality that you have, which is, let me take care of everybody.
Right.
Because when everybody's okay, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Right. And he didn't realize how fucking stressed he was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of it he took as his fault.
Right.
Why isn't this moving to the next step? Right. Well, I needed to get this paper from this person. Let me make this call. Let me do that. And eventually, after we worked on it for a while, he was like, we just don't have this right now. I'd love to push along, but, and bring it back to you. Like, I didn't get the samples. I can't do it unless I have the material.
Right. And that's okay.
Yes.
I feel like over the last couple of weeks, it's really been getting a lot stronger.
Yeah.
But I think I'm more consciously thinking about that now. This is kind of what I'm doing and testing it out. And I've really realized it's a trial run for me. Because this is the first time I've really done something on my own, like for myself, by myself.
Right.
And just kind of kicking the tires and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
And so now it's not an all or nothing, which is way better.
Yeah. I mean, this is bringing in all our old cliches. This is you being that Green Beret. I know I'm going to be okay. I know I'll handle this. No worries. Right? Versus trying to scramble to get all the gear working, get that in place and do all this and do all that. I think that's Whoa.
It's just too much.
Totally.
It's just way too much.
Yeah.
But it's nice because now I'm slowing down, and finally, I think we talked about that every day in here since day one. Like, I'm finally getting to the point where I'm understanding that and appreciating it.
And you said something I want to explore a little bit in a bigger sense, because you said it in terms of just the trip. We still already talked about the wedding.
Yeah, right.
We'll get there too. We got a lot. Not to mention you got a puppy sleeping on your lap. But you said, at least in the hotel room, right? Like, I slept good. Mm-hmm. One of the first things we talked about were the night terrors. Mm-hmm. So certainly while you were there, but even just the last few weeks, how's your sleep been?
When I was on the trip, I slept like a baby.
It's funny, slept like a baby, like slept like a puppy. Because slept like a baby, it's like, well, you're crying all the time. You pooped yourself. Okay, cool.
Maybe.
Right. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Pretty wild. Wedding night, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, no, I think I've been sleeping a lot better. And it's funny because now that I got him, bring him in the conversation for just a minute, I've really slowed down on smoking. And I think that's also why I haven't been sleeping the way. Because I didn't really smoke last week either because I couldn't because I was so sick. Right. And so, give me a week and a half of I'm still here and there, but not every day, all day.
Right.
Because one, I got to be up for him and go on walks and be energetic.
You don't have to be.
I want to be, and I'm choosing to be.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And it feels really good.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Again, day one, we did a lot on day one.
Yeah, right.
Weed was to fall asleep. Mm-hmm. Weed was to wind down.
Right.
And you even said, and I don't want to rely on that.
Mm-hmm.
You take that out, you've got a little different clarity, you have more choice. And it's about, I want my mornings to be like this.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know, I'm taking a little leap here, so to jump in with this, but maybe because I look at my mornings as being about my puppy, looking at the day that I want to have and looking forward to my morning, as opposed to it's just a wind down, just more crap when I wake up. Mm-hmm. What's the point of closing my eyes if I'm opening them to the same shit?
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. I think to an extent, I'm getting more excited for the morning. I'm not waking up it's another day. What are we going to do tonight? It's okay, let's go take care of this little guy, go for a walk. And now I have a routine that I'm getting back into, which is something I've been missing for the last couple of months, having a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
So this is allowing me to pick my routine. I think now I'm more settled down. I kind of even keel. I'm back to my little ways. I'm trying to keep going. It's not as high and not as low.
It doesn't mean it doesn't have its highs and lows, right? It's just that we talked about that seesaw going way to the extremes one way or the other. And you're just kind of a little more centered about it, but it still oscillates back and forth, right? There's still some variance there. Yeah.
Well, and so going back to the weekend, going into this, I kind of had the conversation with my mom. And me and my mom have been talking about me getting a puppy for the last maybe couple of years. The last couple of months have been a lot more serious about it. And then I found this guy and I was like, okay, this feels right. I think it's right. Mom, this is going to happen. And I really hit the conversation with her. And I might have said it last week where it was I'm doing this. I just want your support.
Yeah.
And then that really shifted everything. And even me being at the wedding, it allowed me to be myself.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. I didn't feel like I had to take care of anybody. And I really made my own decisions. If I wanted to go out with the wedding crew, I could or I could not. One of the nights I chose not to, and one of the nights I did. And I didn't feel obligated, and I didn't feel the pressure of it's my brother's wedding. I got to make memories now or I never will again. It was more so the mindset of, okay, this is a great start to a new relationship.
I'll go a little deeper on that.
Yeah.
It's the start of a new relationship with this version of me and everybody else. Because in what you're talking about, I'm oh, right. And you didn't have to make the decision of do I go out or not based on friend and what he's doing. And I got to take care of my boy.
Right.
Or my mom and what she just went through. Or my dad because of what mom went through. It was just, no, this is how I want to relate to everyone else, right? Coming from you.
Yes.
Not just about brother, or not just about friend or mom or dad or all the people you don't know in El Paso. It was, I'm knowing me. And this is what I want to bring out. And this is the new relationship I have is the relationship to me.
Yeah. And to the, just I think it's kind of important, friend. He didn't want to go out. And I was like, well, I'm going to. I'll see you in a little bit. I think even like a couple months ago, when me and old girlfriend broke up, I was like, I'm so afraid to go out on my own. Like, I don't know what's going on, that kind of thing.
Right.
And this is probably the first time, like maybe my whole life, where I've heard a no from somebody I wanted to go and still done it anyway.
I love that. And I want to stay here just for a minute.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that idea is what you've heard me say. It's okay for your partner to be disappointed. Mm-hmm. It's okay to be disappointed. Mm-hmm. It's okay to be mad and still be together.
Right.
It's okay to say no and still have your love and support. Right. Mm-hmm. And on the flip of that is you were on the other end of it when it wasn't okay. Right. If old girlfriend wanted to go out, no, that's not okay. You're leaving me alone. It's not.
Right.
And I don't know where friend was. If he was like, dude, don't leave me in the fucking hotel room all by myself. Like, that's no way, dude.
No.
Right.
No, he was chill.
Right.
Because an early flight and it was late and it was that. And
even say this not to be an asshole, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
You're still going to go out. Same way, and I think you're right about getting the dog. Is like, yeah, I'm doing this, Mom. I'm not asking for your permission or approval. I'd like your support. If I don't get it, that's okay. I'm doing this anyway. I'm going out. And that's something that now that you're tapping into that, that's a strength in yourself that we can grow and build on. And when we grow and build that, then if somebody else that we're with in an intimate relationship or just a buddy, I mean, like, yo, I'm going to this thing. You're like, oh man, I just want to stay here, play 2K, just chill out. He's like, all right, do your thing. I'm going to go out. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah.
When we don't have that strength in ourselves, if they're going out like, oh, they're leaving me. I'm abandoned. I'm alone. I'm not good enough. Something's wrong. Something's wrong with us. Something's wrong with them, with me. But crazy spiral that way.
Yeah. And it's a spiral. That's the other thing I haven't really been doing in the last couple of weeks, months, is I haven't really had any spirals where it's been so physical, where I couldn't do anything about it, where I couldn't get out of bed type of thing.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember one where you couldn't drive home, right? You had your roommate drive you.
Right.
Because you were so anxious about something, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I was thinking about this. I was having a conversation with one of my buddies about all this last night, because he's struggling and going through his own shit. And, you know, I was like, yeah, man, I mean, if you would have asked me a year ago where I was at, I was exactly where you're at. And now I can say that because I can see the other side, and I'm starting to feel it. And that's the cool part. And I think this weekend was really a testament to like what we've been doing for the last year. And it feels really good. That gets me excited. Kind of gives me something to look forward to.
Right.
And now that we got a couple milestones, and it's like, okay, hell yeah. And let's get some more. And
yeah, it's like using the skiing metaphor again, right? Like you heard me say, those old ski trails are automatic. We just go that way, right? The other side, like the out of bounds, like we got to move some boulders, got to move some trees. You've moved a few boulders and a few trees. Yeah. Cool. Now there's fresh powder that way, right? Look at your eyes light up. Yeah. But I'm trying this out. I'm getting comfortable with this, and I'm getting experience with this.
I think everything happens for a reason. And I think these last couple of months have all happened for a reason, kind of where I've been in the last couple of weeks. And I still feel like I'm starting, and I still feel like this is the beginning of the new where I want to be.
I like this, especially when we frame it as journey, not destination. And, you know, quoting you back to you. When you said, 5 years from now, I mean, if I'm living life the way I want to, then the days will turn into weeks, will turn into months, turn into years, and then I'm there. And when you say this is the beginning of you being today how you want to be. So if this day, as you this way, turns into tomorrow, the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year, that's how you want to be. Now you're out there.
Yeah.
The way you want to be out there.
Yeah, the way I want to be out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I got 2 questions about the weekend.
Yeah.
Got to go with like what you wore, how you felt, how it went. Just the presentation of like, look good, because I'm representing LA fashion. Yeah. Right? The other one is what you can tell yourself then, knowing what you know now.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But hit that. I mean, let that float in your head for a second. Tell me about the clothes.
Sure, I'll show you. I think that's a better way. But no, I wore my green velvet
for the rehearsal. Right?
Yeah. Yes. And it was super cool. A lot of people complimented me, and I definitely felt like I was.
Dude, that is style, man.
It was fun. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And there was like older gentlemen there who are like ranchers and lawyers and CPAs and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's what we talked about. It was fashion and
Really?
and design and where I come from and why I do what I do. And
whoa, needle scratch. Back up.
Yeah,
Time out.
crazy,
'Cause
right?
You said last week, you were
Crazy.
like, yeah, I'm not even going to tell people what I do.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, I mean, you know, like, why not say fashion design? Like, I don't know. And look at that,
yeah,
right?
it was wild. Like I was sitting at dinner. I sat with a dude. He's an agricultural lawyer, as well as one of the biggest ranchers in like the States or some shit.
Right.
And so me and him were just sitting there chopping it up. I'm like, man, I like your suit, very sharp, you look great. And he was like, likewise. I'm like, it's rented. You'll probably never see me in it again. You know, we're just talking. and so he gets all excited. And I'm talking to his wife about clothes. I'm like, you're very beautiful. I love your dress. You know, just talking.
Right.
They're like, so what do you do? I was like, oh, I live in LA. They talked about my green the day before. And they're like, so where'd you come up with that? Like, you know, and we start talking.
Right.
And it just led into deeper conversation. And the next thing I knew, I was talking to the whole table about just random shit, but it was really cool because of how it started. And everybody was bouncing off each other and everybody was enjoying it.
Yeah. Were you?
I was. Yeah, it was really cool. Okay. This now plays into the second first question.
Right.
I didn't feel like I was bragging to anybody. I wasn't like, here I am.
Yep.
It was, here I am. This is what I do. You know, and the response through that of other people being interested genuinely,
right? Not
because I had something to offer, not because I could give them something. It was just, this is what I do.
Me.
And I felt like I could be me without having my parents next to me because they were still at the table, but I sit next to them. So I wasn't directly talking to them, which really allowed me to feel comfortable still. Like I felt like this was like my family, but I could not have to feel like I needed to talk to them, make sure they're okay. Everybody was cool. It just allowed me to be myself for myself in front of people I didn't know. And I already had these like what ifs going on, but I feel like all those flew out the window kind of when I sat down. And it was just cool. You know,
what was the sensation then?
Well, I just didn't feel like a kid. You know, I felt like Big Drew was there.
Yeah.
And I felt like I wasn't trying to like find anybody to talk to. Like I was just sitting, chilling, doing my thing.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to prove anything to mom and dad by being Big Drew. I wasn't trying to soothe little Drew. I was just there.
I was just doing it.
Right? There's smile coming out, right?
Well, because like, exactly. I didn't have to show it. I didn't have to be a billboard. I didn't feel like I had to do anything to be who I already am. Yeah, I was already there.
Yeah. Showing people a certain projection of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't wearing the greens to project anything. You were wearing the greens because this is what I want to wear today.
Yeah.
I felt good and looked good.
Yeah. I didn't even think about it, but even before we walked out, you know, I was like, do I look okay? Like, is this too much? Like, should I change? Should I just put a black jacket on? Like, what do you think?
Right.
And so like, even going into it, I still felt almost apprehensive. And then I made like the conscious choice, like right when we were about to leave. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, this is what I want to wear. Like, I don't really care. Like, I care. I do. But I don't.
Yeah. Look, it was respectful. It wasn't wearing tuxedo shorts. Right? It fit. It was still tasteful. It was respectful. Yeah. And now I can be me and show up this way.
Mm-hmm. And it gave me a lot of confidence.
Yes.
You know, it gave me a lot of confidence just to talk to people. I didn't feel like I needed to like stick with my parents, stick with the people I knew. You know, I met a lot of really cool, like good people this weekend.
Yeah.
Who again, I was like, oh, brother, his friend's probably shitty because he's pretty shitty. And so I kind of like grouped
all military, all stiff, all like, I'm not gonna have anything in common.
Right. And then the other flip side of it was, everybody's gonna drink, everybody's gonna get drunk, and what's the point of having conversation if I'm not gonna remember anyway?
Right.
And all of that kind of like went at ease when I started talking to like just random people would come up and like, hey, what's up? And they didn't know I was his brother. They didn't know anything, you know, and we just started like chopping it up. And it was like, okay, this is where I like thrive. And this is what I really like.
This is where I thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this sentiment that you're feeling now, the guy 4 or 5 months ago that I was thinking about, I don't even want to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go. Not quite when it was obligation, not choice.
Right.
We can even go with it was choice, but you were apprehensive.
Mm-hmm.
So what you now, guy that thrived, what does he say to that guy 4 or 5 months ago?
4 or 5 months ago, there's nothing you could have told me that would have made me like want to go.
What would you say about it? Not just to say, not to convince yourself to go. Because we came around
Right.
pretty quickly to the idea of choice, not
Right.
obligation, right?
Yeah.
You were like, yeah, no, I do want to go. It means something to me.
Yeah.
But the apprehension, I'm worried about going, I'm worried what it's going to be like, worried about my parents. So it's speaking on that from, I've now had this experience.
I think I would say something more along the lines of, I want to throw in, and maybe you can help me here. Where there's courage, there's fear. I want to take that and get it bigger.
Yeah.
Because I think I was so afraid 4 or 5 months ago.
Right.
And I didn't know what it looked like to have courage in that.
Right.
Whereas now, I mean, I found some really good friends, some like great family, some people I haven't ever met in my life, but it's been by my side not knowingly for the last 25 years.
Right.
So it's like, you're going to find a relationship. You're going to meet a lot of really good people. And the brother you knew isn't the brother he is. And there's definitely still aspects there where he's still the same person.
Sure.
But he's different.
And there's still some things from when he was that person that aren't resolved yet.
Well, and it's funny because I'm so apprehensive of my mom drinking and her getting fucked up that's same with my brother. You know, when he goes out and drinks, like that's always been like a pushback for me. I've always kept my distance when he gets drunk. And it was the actual day of his wedding, and they were having like a little after party at like a bar, the one bar in El Paso. So I was like, friend, I'm gonna go. It's important to me. It's my brother's wedding. Like I want to go tonight. And he's like, no. He ended up coming with me. I'm just trying to paint the picture. But we get there, we're doing our thing. I grab a drink, and then we're outside, and I'm smoking a cig. And my brother comes, he's like, and he's drunk, like he's drunk at this point. He's like, you got an extra cig? And I'm like, yeah, I got you. And so I pull out a cig, we started smoking a cig. He's like, man, I'm so happy you came. And we had a cool, like, brother to brother, big hug. He's blacked out, so like, it's okay. I had a cool moment with him.
Yeah. That
really allowed me to like be okay with who he is.
Yeah. And that's almost like the Harry Potter version, right? Which is he's always been my brother. And when I see him now, I'd be like, oh, maybe we could. But the through line is he's been your brother.
Right.
Your perspective is shifting a little bit. When you said, where there's courage, there's fear, like maybe you can help me say this. It's that idea of it's not about fearless and not having any fear. That's crap, I think.
Yeah.
It's recognizing that there is fear and that's okay. You know, it's almost telling yourself, hey, it's okay to be scared because where there's fear, there's courage.
Yeah.
And that's going to feel great to do the thing you're scared of. Because the thing isn't that bad. The fear, the scary, the anxiety, yeah, that sucks, man. And now that you've been through it and you thrived in that environment, you go, yeah, it's cool. And we can apply that to a lot of things. Like, as we were saying, is this thing really unsafe or does it just remind me of a time when it felt unsafe? With a lot of things that you go through, you can now go, oh yeah, no, it's reminding me of that. But I can also remember I've gone into things scared and felt courageous and thrived. And it was awesome.
Which is exciting. It's very, very exciting for me.
I like it. I mean, like you said, that's the beginning. That's taking this out for a spin. And that's being this guy.
It's all worth it.
Yeah. I mean, that is what we talked about, that embrace that you guys had.
Right there.
That's what we talked about. That's family.
Yeah.
I still have some unresolved shit from, 10 years ago that we can unpack at some point, or it might not be that important. I'll unpack myself. And we're family and I'm here.
Yeah.
Right. That was the thing that was your value. That was so important to you. You did it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And we are back.
Welcome back to us. Here we are. And welcome to the wedding episode. So,
remember TV shows that would have like the wedding episode, like Ross and Rachel are finally getting married?
Yeah, I really, at the top of my notes, I have a big thing that says wedding.
Really?
Yep. So here are my thoughts right off the bat. I don't know what I expected. I was a little disappointed initially, not by the end. I wanted there to be fireworks and stories and people in jail and fights and sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Right.
And in hindsight, I'm really glad there wasn't.
Right.
I'm very happy with the outcome of it.
I think if I remember myself in the session, I was talking to him about what was going on with him, even though I was aware, like, you just had the wedding. We're not talking about the wedding. Huh, this is weird. Okay. You just kind of compartmentalize it and wait till it comes up, because it did come up.
It came up in the beginning for us. I don't know when it came up for you.
Yeah. No, it did. Well, in the very, very beginning, we were talking about his puppy.
Right.
And then we were talking about the wedding. And then we kind of moved away from it a little bit.
Yeah, he kept being like, okay, I'll get back to the wedding or whatever.
Right.
I mean, I guess it starts with the fact that he went there with the intention of and ended up not really talking to his mom about stuff, about her relapse. And it made him feel better to not have to worry about or think about that pressure of having a conversation. So I think right off the bat, It sounded like that made him feel better. And then he talked about how he slept fine and he had been worried about that. So I think that was overall for him helpful.
Yeah.
When he said there was one bad thing, I was like, uh-oh, here it comes. So funny how he phrased it. And I totally get what he means when he was talking about hearing people sort of whispering or saying that they're going to sit on the groom's side because he doesn't have a lot of family and people didn't know he was his brother. It hurt him and it made him, a little sad but made him want to be closer and more attached to his family. I thought he said at some point in there, though, he said something about there being like over 200 people. And then he also said something about his aunts and uncles and cousins or something not coming. Is that correct?
Right.
Why didn't they come?
I don't know. Probably a long way to travel. Just didn't do it. I think the sensation for him at first was that feeling bad for his brother that he didn't have much family there. Often that's a projection. Drew's feeling that himself.
Right.
There's not a real sense of family, that brother's estranged. And when you're first there in any situation, it's all new. You don't really know what to expect. And it can trigger a lot of the things that are coming up for you, which it did. That was the projection.
Right.
But as he was talking about it, I think he even started out saying, well, so there's one bad thing and here it is.
Yeah.
And he said it, but then he was like, and then I got to like introduce myself as his brother, or there were people that I had seen or I'd gone to school with that were his friends, not mine.
Yeah.
And then got to tell him what I was doing now. And it felt really good. And the story and the narrative that he was holding shifted.
Totally.
So it sounded like a bad thing actually became a pretty good thing, I think.
Yeah. And I think what he said was that whole situation sort of, like I said, moved him more towards his family, and that he met a lot of his brother's friends, the ones that he had grown up with, but now they could see him as he's older. But that even though he didn't get to sit down one-on-one with his brother, he got to know him so much better through all those people and through his friends. And I thought that was super cool.
Right. And I love this because in the session, I was highlighting for him how that's not something we anticipated. It's not something that we knew.
Right.
But it's something that did come out and it's something that was there.
Right.
And a lot of how he's prepared for things is to anticipate what possibly could happen and just highlighting that, look, one of the good things you were talking about was something you didn't even anticipate, and just kind of drilling that subtly into his head. Drilling subtly? Can you do that? I guess so. I just did.
I mean, I guess so.
Subtly drilling it into his head that you don't have to have these anticipations, expectations, that you can go into something unknown, which is a theme for him, and it can actually turn out pretty well. Like that's the heart of the Green Beret and gearhead analogy, is that if you're more Green Beret, prepared by virtue of being yourself, you can go into any situation and be okay.
Right.
Which is essentially what he did, and what he was trying to embody leading up to it. And I think he did a wonderful job of it.
I imagine many people listening can understand the idea that the anticipation is often, not always, worse than the actual event itself, i.e. for me, going to the dentist. I mean, getting the cavity sucks. Getting a cleaning, it's always like, oh, I don't want to go to the dentist. I don't want to go. And I get my teeth cleaned. And afterwards, I'm like, ooh, look at my teeth. So clean. By the way, I got mine cleaned last week.
Wow.
I know.
I'm still scared to go to a dentist right now.
Yeah, well, I'm scared of my teeth looking disgusting and falling out. So I am. But the idea, anticipation, we avoid so much. It's like on my to-do list, the things that I have, write this email, call this person. I avoid, and a lot of us avoid because it's the anticipation, when at the end of it, it's like, that took 2 minutes. That was so easy. It's the idea that anxiety about it versus like it. And I think for me, when he talked about how he's now applying it to his work, and how there are things with his work that are out of control and there's nothing he can do about it. And for me, that's just radical acceptance. He's like, all right, well, here we are. I can't get the pattern makers or whatever to do this shit. Like I can't. And so, all right.
Yeah. And it is accepting it, being okay with it. I think there's something that you're tapping into on both sides of that, where when we just don't know something, or it doesn't go our way, or it's unfamiliar, it seems to be very, I don't know, off-putting, uncomfortable, upsetting. And the reality is it's just new and different. First time on the trail here, to me, it seemed like, gosh, this goes on forever. Wow. When are we going to get to the end of this? Do we loop around? Do we have to turn around and come back? How far am I going to go? Now I know it pretty well.
Right.
So I know what to expect. I even know some of the same little spots. I'm like, oh, there's that tree. Oh, here are these rocks. Okay, I know we're here. But we don't have that in the beginning of something. And I loved how he was mentioning having mile markers and reaching certain like milestones that way, because those are points of familiarity of like, oh, I've made it this far. Cool, in a sense. And it's now more known and I can keep going. And we talked about, metaphorically speaking, Meredith, the ski trail that's out of bounds that has a lot of trees and boulders in the way.
Be quiet. For those of you who haven't heard previous episodes, Doug was talking about ski trails and going out of bounds. And I was saying that was very dangerous when you're not speaking metaphorically. And I did not want to encourage anybody to go out of bounds, out of ski trails. End of story. Goodbye, the end.
Literally speaking. However, metaphorically speaking, that's what our brains are doing when they're connecting new neural pathways and carving a new narrative and a new story for us. It feels so daunting and different and uncomfortable at first, because you really do have to shift things around.
Right.
When you start doing that, whether you hit certain mile markers or milestones and you get used to it, that's when you start like going, oh yeah, I know this trail. Cool. This one's cool. Okay, cool. I got this. And that's a lot of what we do in session with clients, at least I do, is point out, where they are on that quote unquote trail, like what they've been discovering, how they've been able to do it, that they are actually connecting a new neural pathway in their brain and reshaping how they think about something, right?
No, I don't. But now I'm going to, because it sounds really smart.
Yeah. I don't know if it is, but it sounds like it is, right?
Sure. Yeah. So then loved the little segue into puppy. So he said he was sleeping a lot better in general and smoking less weed. And now with the new puppy, he's finding structure. He's not smoking weed all day, every day. He is getting up and taking the pup out every morning. And I liked how he said, well, I have to get up and take him out every morning. And you said, no, like you're choosing to get up. And I say that to my clients a lot. Well, I have to. No, you don't have to. You could let your dog lay in shit all day long if you want, but you're making the choice to not do that. And he said he's getting more excited for the morning. And I just thought that was so lovely, because I'm a morning person. I know you are too.
Yep.
And if you're a night owl, cool, whatever. But for me, the morning just brings, very often in LA, sunshine. And that makes me happy, even if it's chilly out. It's just sort of like a new day. Okay, fun. I have this saying that everything looks better in the light of day.
Oh, yeah. Now, one of my favorite things in LA and even here is to go for a hike in the morning as the sun is coming up, like a sunrise hike. And I'll say, oh, yeah, if I didn't have my dog, I wouldn't do it. I don't know. I might still do it, because it's such a wonderful way, I think, to start your day and feel the sun right when it starts coming out, and you get that early morning kind of buzz, right? And I do think that, yes, even though I have a dog and I could say I need to take him out, it's my choice to, and I choose to do it early in the morning. I also want to highlight something. You might fight me on this, and that's okay. We can duke it out.
Yeah.
That for clients experiencing depression or a depressive episode, you're often robbed of that choice. That in the morning, there's something going on with you. There's something happening inside your brain that makes it almost impossible, not impossible, but it feels that way to even get out from under the covers.
Yeah.
And it's that feeling that you have that seemingly, and I think to a great extent for a lot of people, does rob them of the choice to get up, put a spring in their step. You know, some people have to have a cup of coffee first thing in the morning to jumpstart.
Right.
Some people will work out right away or shower right away. And others just have a really hard time getting that start first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
When you are experiencing depression or a depressive episode, there's no rhyme or reason to what's going on around you environmentally. You kind of wake up with this dread or this feeling, and you might not want to get out from under the covers at all.
Yeah. And I don't disagree with you. I think at the end of the day,
well, we're talking the beginning of the day.
Oh my God, Dorcas. We always have a choice. It may feel 99.99% like we don't. And here's the thing. So if you're so depressed, suicidal, can't get out of bed, let's say you take medication and it decreases your depression by half, you still can choose to lay in your bed.
True.
But you're going to have an much easier time making the choice to get out of the bed, put both feet on the ground, right? So I totally understand. There is a 0.01% in there where it's still your choice no matter what, even though it may feel 100% impossible.
True.
You're right. Because I feel like something like severe depression or severe anxiety is just as serious as severe cancer or whatever. If you're having chemo and throwing up and you can't get out of bed, you literally can't get out of bed. Right. And I wonder if there was some kind of emergency, would you like roll yourself out of bed? You know what I mean? Onto the floor and crawl to, who knows? We don't know.
Right. If there was an emergency. When there isn't, you don't. And it's something that when I was doing the episode with Wyatt and we were talking about going through chemo, and he kept saying, oh, it's just something I had to endure. And it's something he and I talked about, the adventure challenge mentality. We've worked on that. And he was like, yeah, there was no adventure to it. It was just a straight up challenge. Can I endure this?
Right.
A lot of people suffering from depression or depressive episode, it's similar in that there's no adventure to this. Can I endure this?
Right.
And what really sucks about it when it's chronic for some people is that there doesn't seem to be an end to it. It seems to be a vicious cycle where, okay, I got out of bed today, but it's going to be the same thing tomorrow or in a couple months from now. And that's something I said many months ago on the podcast. I have a client who suffers from depression, actually dysthymia, which is being depressed over such a long period of time that you realize diagnostically, this is just your state of being. It's not a depression that comes and goes. It's one that comes and doesn't really lift.
Right.
And he said, I think depressed people are the most optimistic people around. And I looked at him, I was like, what? That same look you just gave me, Meredith. I love that. And he said, because we wake up in the morning feeling the way we feel and we still get out of bed. So we must be optimistic that it's going to be different, that it's going to be okay.
Okay. Yeah, like, I get that.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I'll go with that.
Yeah, put that on a t-shirt. You know,
you're all going to get a mug with that one.
Right. And I think it actually is true because so many people that are just like, oh, I didn't feel like getting out of bed today. I'm like, why? Because it was cold and it was so warm under the covers. Like, oh, okay, cool. Or, well, it's Saturday. I didn't want to do anything. That's fine. But, oh, I didn't feel like getting out of bed today. Why? Because I'm horribly depressed and I don't see the point or the reason in anything.
Yeah, right.
That's different.
And you did anyway.
Right. So you must be optimistic, right?
Right. I like that. Okay.
And what really helps getting out of bed is a puppy licking your face.
Oh my God. Stop it. I can't take it.
Well, and I will say that I have said to some clients, like, yeah, maybe getting a puppy would be good. And they go, really? Like, yeah, caring for something other than yourself kind of kicks into gear what it's like to care. So now you can apply that to yourself by virtue of doing it for another creature.
100%. So at the wedding, he didn't feel like he had to take care of anybody.
Right.
Or answer to anybody, which I thought was super cool. And I don't know that he actually expected that. and he brought a friend with him to the wedding, right?
Right.
So he mentioned at some point that
who knows his family? Like it's a friend from up there. It wasn't just an LA friend. It was like an old friend.
A friend who came. Yeah.
Yeah.
So his friend didn't want to go out and Drew went anyway. And he sort of said, like, I think this might be the first time that I've ever gone anyway, that where if the person didn't want to go, that he wasn't like, oh, okay, I'll stay too, that he was doing it for himself. He wasn't asking for permission or approval. Right. He would like the support, not necessarily in going out to a bar or something, but that in the world of Drew, he's deciding he doesn't have to ask for permission or approval. Support would be cool in these decisions in life, like the puppy or whatever. But you know what? Right. I'm going to go do me.
Yeah. I think we're seeing a lot of, I said it, I think last week on the podcast, the individuation, him becoming an individual, his own person, and being able to trust that more and more. And it's, again, new and different. So it might be a little uncomfortable. Like, oh, hey, friend, you don't want to come out? I still want to go out. And I'm going to do that. And that's something we've talked about in terms of some of his previous girlfriends, where a girlfriend from Seattle, where he didn't go to church enough for her. Then the girlfriend he had down here, he didn't go to church at all.
Right.
It wasn't a part of his life, you know, and he's kind of calibrating and going, wait, that is a part of my life. I want to do this. And I want my partner, whoever that's going to be, to accept that that's how it is. They don't have to go with me.
Right.
They just have to know that this is important to me.
Letting go of some of those codependent traits, codependent behaviors.
Right.
Which was super cool to see.
Yeah, totally.
Now, let's get down to the
I was
outfits.
waiting for this.
I'm actually skipping over something that I'm going to come back to, but I'm way too excited to talk about this. And I know he showed you a picture, and I was like, fucking chop his head off and show us that picture. Literally.
I knew when I was re-listening to this, and I loved that. I was like, okay, I got two questions for you. One, what did you wear? Two, what would you tell yourself about it? And it was like, right. The what did you wear part.
I was like, who cares about two?
Right. I knew it.
Okay. So he said all you said is you wore your green velvet, right? And I'm like, green velvet what?
Yeah, he wore a green velvet suit. No, green velvet suit.
Okay. Tell me about it, Doug. I want to hear all the details.
I'll see if maybe we can get a picture and blur out the face and put it in there.
Okay.
I don't know that we'll do that.
That's fine.
Suffice it to say, looking at the picture, I mean, you take one look at it and you go like, oh, this man's got style.
What color green?
It was dark green.
What kind of shoes?
You're asking the wrong guy. You're asking the wrong guy.
What kind of shoes?
The kind that go on your feet.
Doug.
They were over the socks.
Doug, what kind of shoes?
I don't remember. I'm not in fashion. I'm in mental health.
Whatever. I'm in both.
He looked good. And what was, I think, the coolest part of it is he felt good about what he was wearing. I think he even said something like, I was about to go out and I was going to put a jacket over it. And I was like, wait a second. No, I want to wear this.
Yeah, that he just said, fuck it. And he felt confident about it. He said he got a lot of compliments.
Yep.
And one of my favorite parts, because this reminds me of, this has happened to me multiple times, but
I figured
he was sitting around with these ranchers and lawyers, and they ended up talking about fashion and asking him all sorts of questions. And then that led to a conversation with the whole table, and everyone was really interesting, and he was just himself. And I felt like I talk about this with a lot of people and a lot of clients, that we have these judgments of, I'm going to be bored. Everyone's older than me. I don't have anything in common. First of all, before we even go anywhere.
Totally.
And second of all, you don't have to have something in common with somebody to be able to have amazing conversations and learn from people. I was at a wedding in San Miguel de Allende in Mexico. I was sitting because San Miguel is a very fascinating place. There's a lot of expats. There's a lot of locals. There's a lot of just mixture. And so I was sitting at this table. A woman on one side of me was a professional croquet player. And the guy sitting on my right used to be Nixon's speechwriter.
Wow.
And I was like, my head was just going back and forth. I was like, I want to talk to both of you. I want to know everything. And this woman said, well, if you want to come tomorrow, just wear your whites and come to my croquet lawn or whatever. And I was like, okay, I don't wear white, first of all. And second of all, I don't know how to play croquet. But it taught me in that moment that I can talk to pretty much anybody and learn something from them, even if they're, judgmentally speaking, super annoying or whatever. I can learn from that to tolerate my uncomfortability and my desire to get up and leave. And like that can be something that I can learn. So it sounded like all these guys, they were talking about all these different things, and he was just being himself. And at one point he said, "This is where I thrive, just chopping it up." And I was like, yeah, boy.
Yeah. I loved that expression, just chopping it up. Like, that was cool.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you're hitting on something that I will agree and disagree at the same time. That idea that thinking we don't have anything in common with these people, wherever we're going, I'm going to be bored, or I'm going to be boring, or they're going to be boring. Like, who knows?
Right.
I think there is something that we all have in common, or that they all might have in common in that moment, which might be more of a feeling than an actual external thing. Like, they all have in common a passion for what they're doing, or an expertise or a mastery in what they're doing, or just some knowledge in something. What the knowledge is in might be different across the board and not in common. It's like early on in the podcast, like one of the very first episodes, I said an old girlfriend of mine, we used to love watching that MTV show Pimp My Ride, right? Where they deck out a car.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, like, one episode had the center console being a goldfish bowl, which is so ridiculous, but so freaking cool, right?
Yeah.
And we love the show. I know nothing about the cars. I know the gas makes it go, the brake makes it stop, and that's pretty much it. And to see people being so passionate about something that they're experts in is really awesome to watch. And I think that a lot of these people, the ranchers and all that, they see this guy who the night before was wearing, you know, his greens, you know, his green velvet suit. And they were like, yeah, you had some style. You looked really sharp. And he was like, oh yeah, thanks. Yeah. I'm in fashion. Oh, really? And now they want to talk about that. And now it taps into that. And that's something like he wouldn't have anticipated at all.
Right.
But he got to experience by virtue of being there, being himself. And it was like, that was cool. And even being able to do that led him to some deeper conversations with these people, because they then had some commonality.
Right.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. And he said he wasn't trying to find anybody to talk to.
Right.
That he just like was chilling and like talked to people. It wasn't like, oh, okay, who can I go? I feel awkward. I'm going to go sit with this or whatever.
Yeah. And I think he even noticed that it was like, wow, wait a second. I'm just actually being myself. I don't have to offer something to these people. I don't have to give them something, you know, because a lot of how he relates to people is what do I have to offer? What do I have to give?
Yeah. So he was talking about when they went out, he was with his brother, and his brother was super drunk.
Right.
And he said something to the effect of like, yeah, always hesitant when my brother drinks because he gets wasted. I thought they haven't seen each other in 10 years.
I think part of it might be they've seen each other. They haven't done anything substantive. Like, I'm sure that they've been together for holidays or something.
Oh.
I think the idea of when you're super close to somebody, like they were close as kids, and then they had that break at like age, whatever it was, 14, I think.
Right.
Then they just weren't close, and they didn't really confide in each other. They weren't good friends anymore. They had different friends. So they saw each other. I mean, he described once, many, many months ago, being in the car with him and driving to school, and they just didn't talk.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now I remember. But just super interesting, right? Like following in his mom's footsteps, potentially. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's, he was even saying like, I usually keep my distance when he's drinking, because I think it's going to be like mom. And this was just different. It was like, okay, that's cool. He learned, I think he even threw it back at me. He learned like not to hold that Harry Potter picture of his brother. Like, this is how his brother's been this whole time. But I have this old snapshot, but I'm just going to take this new snapshot for what it is.
Yeah, I like that. I was waiting for, what about the brother's wife? We heard nothing about her. And what about the bridesmaids? And what else happened?
Right.
Did he meet the brother's wife? Obviously. what are his thoughts about her?
Well, the bridesmaid that he went home with, did I tell you about that one? Did we talk about that? Maybe we cut that out. That did not happen. Did not happen. Yeah, it wasn't what he brought up. And it's weird because there's a level of curiosity as a human.
Yeah.
I actually suspend my curiosity as a podcaster. I'm like, I'm not interviewing him like a podcaster. I'm absolutely with him for what he's uncovering and discovering or recovering about himself. If it even popped up in my head, like, oh, tell me more about the wedding. I want to hear about what was the bride wearing? Did you get along with her? How was this? It didn't come up for him. It wasn't part of what came up. So I didn't ask. I didn't put it out there.
Well, for future reference, please do your job differently and ask. JK.
I think there were sometimes, if I can fast forward and give not really spoilers, but there were things that have come up about his brother since where he'll mention the wife and talk about having a relationship with her too, with them and what that is. Because he's never met her. It was like brand new.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering.
Yep.
And then he said this earlier, I like to go linearly.
That's tough to say.
Okay. He talked about how both sort of physically, mentally, either way, he has not spun out in months.
Right.
And that gets him really excited looking at the work he's done over the past year. And that's when he sort of said, so many great milestones. Like, I want more milestones. Like, let's keep doing this. Right. And he was just excited, and no night terrors, no meltdowns, spinning out, whatever you want to call it. Just so awesome to hear. And I think there was one point where he was talking to a friend about stuff, and he said, man, a year ago, this would have been such a different situation, or it was such a different situation. Right. And like, look at me now.
Right.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I love this. And it's so cool that we've kind of synced up in a way that we are on the podcast a year ago, almost to the date of where we are now. And I'm still working with Drew. And I referenced this with Drew when I saw him, I think this week, where he said something on the podcast a while back about, okay, so I'm feeling better. Does that mean we're done?
Yeah.
I'm like, no. Right. And he didn't know. He just thought like, oh, I'm supposed to get through something, then I'm through it, and then I'm done. Right.
Right.
And, what he's saying in this episode, in this session was, yeah, I love these milestones. I love these mile markers. I love hitting these points and recognizing the progress that I've made. And I want more of them. I want to keep going. So this week, I think he said something about, I don't really know what to talk about. We just started chopping it up, and then we hit something pretty deep, and it was pretty cool. And I reminded him about, and he was just amazed, like, oh man, we got to that's why I love doing this. Like, you remember a year ago, like exactly a year ago, because that's where we are in the podcast. Yeah. And he was so like, cool. Oh my God, I can't imagine if I had stopped before the wedding. Like, and the progress he's still making, and how, how he uses this and uses the mile markers to look at his own progress and recognize it for himself. It's so cool. And I think our job is so amazing that we get to join with our clients for their journey of growth through life. So cool.
Lovely. So cool to see. Great work with both of you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Just a lot of growth. We're always growing and changing. So I can't wait to see what happens next.
Even when it's our birthday.
Especially when it's our birthday.
That's right.
I'm going to go eat cake.
Yeah, I remember one year, I think you posted this, that you had like a bunch of maybe you do this every year. You had like single serving cakes. I don't remember where you went, but
I got slices of cake. Yeah, this was last year.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. I go get a slice of cake from all different places.
What's your favorite cake?
Probably red velvet from Sweet Lady Jane.
Ooh.
There's also the birthday cake from Susie Cakes. That's really good.
Nice.
I could probably go on for quite a while. Actually, there's a sheet cake from Ralph's that is so fucking good. I will say that.
Are you kidding me? Really?
Yeah. So good.
I don't do sugar anymore, but I used to love the German chocolate cake.
Oof.
No? Oh, love that. Any kind of coconut cake, sometimes a carrot cake, but all of these are in combination with each other. There's very rarely one slice of cake.
Right. Yes, exactly.
That's why I remember you posting that last year.
Totally. Awesome. I'm going to do it again, guys. Wait for it. Wait for the photos.
Love it. Bring it. Let's see it.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday to you, Meredith.
Thank you.
I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'll probably talk to you in an hour.
Yeah.
But,
well, the fact that I get to celebrate with all you all listening makes me very happy.
oh, very nice. We celebrate all of you, but especially Meredith today.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the most important today.
Hell yeah. And we will see you when we're all important again next week. Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.